So what I was talking about at the beginning of the last video and kind of picked up with towards the end before I got sidetracked by the whole reason I'm making this particular installment on Youtube.zip is when I was taking 7-zip and Bandicam off of my home computer, I had to, even though they were installed on the home computer and my USBs, in order to uninstall them from the computer itself, I had to have the USBs that they were also downloaded onto plugged into my computer, which is odd for a number of reasons because that whole idea is almost a carbon copy of what it means to unzip the games and the emulators to play these things. But with how difficult that process is and the fact that it exists for both of them in a identical way, but separate in that, the games and the emulators, it's to play the games, and with Bandicam and 7-zip, it's the program that you use to get them working, period, on your computer for 7-zip and Bandicam to record them. I just found it odd that USB had to be plugged into the computer to uninstall them. And I say all that only for it to not work. The old emulators as soon as I plugged them into my new laptop, which is uh, even more odd than the fact that the USB had to be plugged into the home computer for um, the uninstallation of 7-zip and Bandicam before it ultimately didn't even work on my laptop. But for the whole process essentially being the same as what it means to unzip, period, for the Visual Boy Advance and Decimune emulators. So, it was a problem that only got worse the more I was trying to fix it for it to ultimately not work on my new laptop, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But, um, I have a feeling this is going to be 3 videos, and I'm just going to go ahead and call it now because what's going to happen is after I make all 3 of these, they're going to unorganize this playlist, and then that's going to be Youtube.zip 8. So this installment is about the fact that they've unorganized, as of today, 3 more playlists. Um, and after I get all these videos uploaded, they're gonna, unorganize the playlist that I'm making today, and that'll be another installment. It's not gonna stop. This is precisely why, they took me off the mystery dungeon games like the 3 weeks leading up to Christmas. I didn't get to play at all. They completely ruined my holiday season in that regard. They completely ruined my opportunity to play those games. It was a bunch of time wasted on my part. Um, and the problems they kept happening. They never got fixed. You know, in some instances, they doubled down on issues. After I'm making these to highlight criminal activity, and then it persisted immediately after in the same playlist very shortly after I uploaded it. So I'm going to go ahead and call it now. It's going to happen again, and then there's going to be another installment made of the disorientation of this playlist because that's how they operate. It's pretty clear at this point no one's going to stop them. Um, Everything I talked about at the beginning of this video is just another example of how they try to retain as much control as they can while they're actually, if you think about it, it's not even so much they're trying to retain controls, they're just threats. They're just threats. The default layout of the Decimune with the touchscreen being on the right, some people could argue that that's a threat. I would argue that the whole process for uninstalling Bandicam and 7-zip from my desktop before it ultimately, the same emulators and the process that rivals the uninstallation for the emulators and games in a totally opposite way before it didn't work on my computer or my laptop is a threat. The process for uninstalling the programs and for unzipping, you know, for them to be that identical in such an opposite way, but for that being the truth of how you have to play those games in those emulators in and of itself is a threat. But then, I get on my new laptop and then the emulators, Desmume and Visual Boy Advance don't work. So it's like another threat on top of that. They just don't work on this laptop that I have. So I have to, wait till I get a computer in the future if I can get one, a new one. Of course, they robbed me of my old one, and then, which is totally different from my TV that hasn't been turning on for the past 3 years. Um, you know, that's it's like the 7-zip Bandicam thing relative to the .zip functionality. I would consider that a threat. Get on my laptop to try to play the older games. It doesn't work. It's another threat. You know, I appreciate the fact that Citra's, was so easy to install and play on this computer, my laptop, but there's some compressed zip files, which I'm not quite sure what that means, that also appeared when I was trying to open up the old emulators, and I'm not sure if that's something I can dance around to get them working, but I'm not going to try to do it just because of how many things are on my USB and the inherent folders that came with the emulators. I don't want to like mess anything up. But I'm just saying all this because, their behavior that led to the Youtube.zip, those were threats as well. It's like everywhere you turn, there are very, very serious crimes that are being committed, and they never get fixed. They always happen. Some of the things that I consider to be threats with stuff that's happening on the back end of getting these emulators up and running and uninstalling programs. That's just how I perceive the process for those things. I consider them to be a threat because of what a .zip file is and how they push the games in there, and you know why in the world my USB has to be plugged into my home computer to uninstall Bandicam and 7-zip. I have no idea, but it's suspicious. You know, why after all of that, you know, they're not working on my new laptop is also suspicious as well. Um, why they are disorienting my channel is suspicious. Why it's happening again and again and again in different ways on top of original disorientations is suspicious. Do you get what I'm saying? So, it's interesting. I do want to get this made. It's going to be another day of, you know, this could be time I could be playing Pokemon Ultra Moon, but instead I'm having to do this. So they're robbing me in that way on top of all this stuff that I'm having to deal with. You know, they're taking up my time. I'm not getting a chance to play these games. Tomorrow I'm not going to be able to upload Pokemon Ultra Moon because I'm going to have to deal with this. And I'm telling you right now, they're going to disorientate this. And that's going to be at YouTube.zip 8 because I believe this is 7. So, you know, this whole playlist got started around three new disorientations since the channel trailer playlist had been uploaded. You know, the next one's going to be about the fact that this playlist got disoriented. The fact that these things exist as it pertains to just the user interface of Microsoft is similar to the changes that YouTube's made to their website. There's nothing we can do about it. It's pretty clear how they feel about people at this point, and we just have to live with that. But some of the things that YouTube is doing on and off this website, you know, i.e. the channel disorientation and some of the things they've done to my phone that's prevented me from not only recording audio, filming videos, saving things to my phone because they tampered with the memory, straight up preventing me from using my phone, charging my phone, those are that's precisely why I'm making these, because you can't just do what you're doing using YouTube as a human body shield to just commit all kinds of heinous crimes and then do stuff like that and expect to get away, period, without me having to say something. So I'm going to make another video because I want to use this as an opportunity to kind of talk about who's doing this and, more importantly, how long this has been going on, because this has been happening for close to, I don't know, over a decade at this point.